Thank you for talking to us today. Thank you for sharing your story with us. And I know it's not going to be easy. So, is it going to be hard? It's already making you emotional.
It is.
Why?
Because when I spoke out against this monster, I had so many people saying, you're just a woman scorn. He cheated on you. You got names of a couple women. But I knew it was more than that. I knew it was more than that. And I got criticized. Just people just thought I was crazy. But I knew this man was a wicked man. And I spoke out. And when I went on social media, I never got caught, because as a Christian recording artist, you shouldn't be doing what I did with this man.
Yeah.
I didn't get caught in anything. God spoke to me and says, Vicki, you need to confess to the world. You're a gospel recording artist. You're with this man. He has convinced you that you are in a okay relationship because he's best friends with Jesus. And he's immune from all of that, and you're going to be okay. He said, God just really cared. And I would say stuff to David. David, this ain't right. He said, it's okay. I'm best friends with Jesus. But being a preacher's kid, I knew it was wrong. And so I spoke out, and it's actually still on the internet. It's about 20 minutes, and I just told everybody what was going on. Within 3 weeks, I stopped counting at 100 women that told me that they were in a relationship with David. Many of them said they were his wife. They said that he said to keep it just between them because church people are messy. That's what he told me. Church people are messy, Vicki, and I'm going to marry you one of these days, but just don't tell anybody. And so all these women are out there thinking that this man is going to be the one that they're going to marry.
Loves them.
Loves them. There was times he would text me, and he would just say, hey, what's going on, baby, or whatever. And I would respond, but he wouldn't say nothing back. And then the next day you'd get, And so one time I remember saying, David, we're supposed to get married at some point. We haven't talked in 3 weeks. He said, he finally would call me. He said, I don't know about us. He said, you just seem very unstable. And I said, well, maybe you're right. You're so busy doing the things of God, and you're traveling, and I'm sorry that I guess I was asking too much, so that I'm back out again, And so, but I had a lady even today, he moved her from Maryland and moved her a few blocks from his home in St. Louis. And she said, when I saw you come out and say what you said, the first 3 words, I knew you were speaking the truth. Because everything you said about him, he did it with me. And so that's why the women believed me. Yeah. The women believed me.
The Department of Justice says David Taylor and Michelle Brandon are facing charges of human exploitation, financial crimes, including forced labor and money laundering, and that they did not permit people who were working for their call center victims to leave the house without permission, demanded that his armor bearers transport women from ministry houses, airports, and other locations to Taylor's location, and ensured the women transported to Taylor took Plan B emergency contraceptives. Does any of this surprise you?
Oh, no, not at all. But for me, I was a little bit different. I'm not, because I was the gospel singer that he had me come and sing. I was never around all the stuff you're talking about, the working 50 hours and not feeding them. He kept me from all of that. Okay. I flew in, sang at his events. He would come to Louisiana, New Orleans. We'd meet up in New Orleans. But when I came out with my story,
Yeah.
then everybody else said, well, listen, I'm the one that got the EBT cards when everybody got them the first of the month, and they all had to give them to me, and I would go to the grocery store, and that food would be gone, and we'd have to wait till, he said, and so other stories started coming out.
After you spoke out. So these allegations don't surprise you because you've heard of these from other members.
Because I've heard, yeah, because way back when, I had so many people call me and say, we've been praying for you. But see, people reached out to me, even my family and people that, they said, Vicki, there's something not right with him.
With it.
And I would say, David, everybody says there's something not right. And he says, Vicki, he said, but when you're at my level, you're going to get persecution. And he said, you got to stand with me. And there's different things that he would say. He sent me a YouTube video. Yeah. And he said, I want you to check this out. And he said, and it was a video of him at an apartment that he had in Detroit. Just not fancy at all. Yeah. And he's standing there and he's showing people his apartment. And he said, I only make $49,000 a year. He said, and he said, this is where I stay. And so I called him, or he called me. He said, what'd you think? I said, David, that's deceptive. I said, you have 2 Bentleys, a Rolls Royce. You have those big house in St. Louis. He said, then he said, after that he goes, well, you just need to go with my flow. Your mind is not right. And he just totally discredited what I said. Why did you even ask me my opinion? So a lot of things like that was a red flag. And I had many red flags during this 16-month relationship, many. But I ignored a lot of them.
One of the red flags, according to what I saw in your book, I guess, was when you first were involved with the church, that first time you came to guest sing, when the worship went till, I think you said 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And is that where the first time maybe you look to see at the cult likeness of this church, because they have these super long worship?
At that time, I just thought, wow, they really love God. That early on, I didn't really even think it was a cult. But that night at 3:30 in the morning, we took a picture together. And he sent me, so about midnight, no, not midnight, because that was 3:30, about 5 in the morning, he messaged me. He said, send me that picture. And I said, okay, and I sent him, and he came back and he said, OMG, you're beautiful. Now, I was divorced, and my ex-husband, he would say I was pretty, cute, but every woman wants to hear that word, beautiful. And so I said, Lord, the next time you send somebody into my life, please let them use the word beautiful. When I got that text, I said, here he is. And so that was the beginning of my really downfall with that, because I just thought that God, he said, OMG, you're beautiful.
And that did it. He, like you said, he knew what to say.
Yeah.
And how.
I wasn't even attracted to him. I mean, you've seen him.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just saying, it's the craziest thing, because the longer I was there, I would come to his meetings, and I would say, David, these women here are so beautiful women. Yeah. And he said, yeah, they are. They got a lot of nice looking women here. But come to found out that he slept with all of his spiritual daughters. I wasn't the only one.
And it sounds like, too, in the documents that he's charged with, that's mentioned that he made them take, a lot of the women transported to him, take Plan B contraceptives. He ever make you?
No. We didn't. We weren't together because I didn't live there. So
you weren't there.
I wasn't there. He had a house there in Detroit of about maybe 18 women, and I'm sure 99% of them was with him.
How would you describe your relationship with Mr. Taylor?
I thought I was in love with him, but when I look back at it, he really just used me, because I have like 1.2 million on my Facebook page, my platform. He would have me promote his book. If I didn't promote his book every day, it was like the end of the world. He wanted me to interview people that saw Jesus. So when I look back on it, he used me for my platform. He did not love me. He did not, because it was all about what I can do for him. You know, he kept me busy just, you know, promoting his book, you know. And as far as, you know, I look back at it, I just cannot believe that I got caught up in it. I just can't believe I'm smarter than that.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like I'm smarter than that. And the guy is nothing to look. I'm not trying to be mean, but I mean, I'm just saying, I like good-looking, you know, men. You know, that's one thing. That's the first thing you see. But that's not what attracted to me at first. It was what he said to me. He's got a way. I know it's demonic. I know it's manipulative. I know. I mean, some of these women. His main thing, and it's in the book.
Yeah.
Getting the women is Facebook. He would message them and say they have a Catherine Kuhlman anointing. And if you know who that was, she was a powerful woman of God that would pray for people, they'd be healed. You know, people say, oh wow, you got a powerful, you remind me of Catherine Kuhlman. And then he would say, I was going through Facebook and God told me you're to be my wife. So he has a team of Michelle, Daniel, man, his name just came. Daniel's the one that set up all these things. They would go on Facebook and they would find affluent women, women with money, women that, you know, not married, married too, because he's broke up many, many marriages.
I saw that.
Oh, you won't even believe the stories.
There was one video that Michelle posted that said if you have a nickel and you're going to be homeless if you give up that nickel, to still give that nickel up to
Oh yeah, it's
the
just
church.
great. It's anything that if you have a savings account, I gave a lot of money.
Yeah.
I regret it, but I gave a lot of money. He said when I exposed him that they asked him why. Well, he said he kicked me out, you know, which that wasn't true. He said, well, she's on drugs. She could be a part of it. Which, if I'd been on drugs, everybody would have known it. Why did, you know, you just, I'm in the
So
public
you
eye.
just walked away.
I just got on social media and I told my story. He got on social media the next night and just, then he said, you know, they said, well, you bought her a Jaguar. He paid $20,000 for that Jaguar, paid down, and he paid the notes for it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but he didn't pay it out full. But, and you know what he said? He told everybody, he said, well, she came to our ministry, she was broke. Not true. And she didn't have a car. My car was paid off. But he knew I had a Jaguar in the past that I had wrecked, and he knew I love a Jaguar. So one day he just said, if you can get to Atlanta, go get you a Jaguar, you know. And so, so then he started making up all these stories. And then Michelle says, one time I picked Vicki up from the airport, and she wanted barbecue chicken. And so I went and got a barbecue chicken. Instead of using a napkin, she put the barbecue on top of the roof of my car. And everybody was laughing in the comments because if you know me, that's one thing when I go to churches, don't give me barbecue. I hate barbecue. And so everybody was laughing because they're like, she's lying because we know about you, you know. So what they're trying to do is discredit me. They couldn't come, they were just saying stuff. I didn't watch it, but other people told me about it because once I did the video and I broke down and shared my story, I didn't want to hear his voice anymore. I was done. Daystar Television, Joni Lamb, her and her husband, deceased husband Marcus Lamb, flew me to a counseling place for 1 week. And when I drove there, and when I pulled in, the lady was on the porch. And I couldn't see my tomorrow. I could not see tomorrow. I could not see tomorrow. Because my whole world was what me and him would do together. And it was crazy. Even though I was relieved that I was able to share this with the world, but she had her dog there. She hugged me. She said, it's going to be okay. And so every day for 7 days, she made me breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And in between, we'd go by the fireplace and we would just share. We went back to my childhood when I was young. I had some things happen to me when I was 5 years old. And she told me, she says, you were told to keep that a secret at 5. So it was never dealt with. These things were never dealt with. So now you're 50 and someone's telling you to keep a secret. You've done that before.
Is that why you spoke out?
Yeah.
After that, all you have is your voice.
And you know what? You read the story about how that came out, how I came up with that title.
Yeah.
Michelle was a wicked woman. She put me in that room in Israel, and she told me, sit down, her and Marcia, another lady, Marcia. And they started, this is in Israel. We were there for some meeting. He always acted like he had, if you see his advertisements, like he's going to have 20, 30, 50,000 in his stadiums. And you see, he's got the best graphics person. But you show up at his meetings and there's 50, 60. He wanted to be famous so bad. I mean, he just wanted, So we're in this ballroom. First off, Michelle texts me and she says, Apostle wants me and Marcia to meet with you. Now, Marcia knew I was with David, and she did. Only a few people knew.
Apostle is David.
Apostle, yeah, I'm sorry. Apostle is David, sorry, David. And so she said, Apostle wants me to meet with you. And I said, he's my boyfriend. He can text me and call me. What's going on? He said, if you don't meet with us, if you don't accept us, you don't accept him. That was another red flag. I was in Israel. I was like, okay, what? This is getting crazy. So I said, no, I'm not meeting with y'all. He blasted me. He told me how rebellious I was, full of pride. He just, on the phone, he said, you better meet with him. So I'm over in Israel. I don't want to get stuck. He paid my way there.
Yeah.
And so I said, I'll meet with him. So I go into this big ballroom. It was like I was on one side of the table, they were on the other side. And they just started, I was crying. I couldn't stop crying. They were saying stuff I never heard of, just making up stuff. You're full of pride, and when you come to the church and you're so demanding. You can ask anybody when I go to their churches. I am not a diva. Give me some room temperature water and let's go.
Yeah.
I don't have to have certain color of M&Ms or nothing like that. I'm not that way. They were saying, and I was like, no, shut up. I was like, I was just, shut up, you're full of pride. And they were just screaming at me. And I just sat there and cried. And I kept thinking, if I'm David's queen, how would a king allow his queen to be treated this way?
Yeah.
And so they said, we're done. You can go. So I said, okay. And I'm walking to the door. And Marcia and Michelle were standing there. Marcia goes, all you have is a voice, Vicki. I said, I know. See, they just, there's nothing else to me. Then when I decided to write the book, I was praying about a title. And God brought me back to that moment. And he said, yes, I've anointed your voice to sing. But now I've anointed your voice to expose this cult. And so, that's the title. All you have is a voice, free from a hidden cult. And so, it's so interesting that this is happening now and me sharing all this. I on the way over here, I was thinking, Lord, let me say the right things, because so much happened in those 16 months. Because I haven't thought about it in about 5 years. Yeah. I've not. I wrote the book, left it alone, said, God, whatever, if he ever gets caught, okay. If he don't, you know what? I feel like I did what I was supposed to. I told my story, and I'm done with it. I'm done with it. People would message me. I said, first off, don't send me any clips of him. Don't send me anything about him. I'm over. I'm done. Mm-hmm. I'm done with him. And then when I got that mugshot a couple of days ago, all I could do was just cry, because I had messaged the FBI several times, and I said, what's going on? Yeah. And sometimes they wouldn't answer, sometimes they'd say, it takes time. It takes time. I remember when I had the interview with them, I said, how long is it going to take? And they said, just, Vicki, let me tell you this. When we go in, it's over. We have everything, so it may take years. So I feel like I've been vindicated. I feel like you won't believe the people that has messaged me saying, Vicki, I'm sorry. We didn't believe you. We thought you were just a woman scorned. But I'm so thankful for this opportunity to share my story with you.
Because more people are speaking out now too.
Yes.
You're one of the very few over the years that spoke out publicly.
Yeah, they won't do it because of what would happen.
The
you know,
backlash.
what they would happen. You know, one thing I wanted to say, when David was pastor in church in St. Louis, his armor bearer, that's somebody that goes around and helps him, you know. There's really true ones that are compensated, and they're, you know, he's got a whole other situation going on. But when he messaged me, he told me he had 60 names of 60 women in St. Louis that David slept with. He said, let me tell you something. He said, one time I got a call from one of the deacons. He said, get David, come out to the house. He said, why? He said, well, you'll find out. He told David got his wife, they went out to the house. On the way to the house, David told his wife, said, act like you knew about this when we got here and that you forgive me. And she said, what? Well, he said, you'll see. When he got out there, all the 8 deacons were out there, and they were confronting him. He slept with every one of their wives.
Was this Tabitha the wife? Tabitha was the wife. Growing up in the church and being involved in so many churches across the country, do you worry there may be other situations out there like what was alleged to happen at the Kingdom of God Global Church?
Yes, because when I first wrote the book and I was sharing a little bit about it, I had women reach out to me. One lady said, I had our bishop's baby, and we sit in the balcony every Sunday, and the child is 5 years old now. He's on the platform with the First Lady. And
so other cults.
yeah, well, I mean, they're going to say it's a church.
Yeah.
There are legitimate churches. My dad was a pastor. He was
100%.
But you know what? There's some of these they're cults, you know. And but my whole message was no more secrets.
Yeah.
See, I kept a secret. People keep a secret. If you can't go, this is a side note. If you can't go down the street with the guy you're dating, and you can't go to a restaurant or go meet his family, you can only meet him in the hotel, there's something wrong.
Red flag.
Red flag. No more secrets.
What would you say to those who are still members and backing Taylor and Brandon? I called this morning the church, and people are still answering. They say that there's still business as usual and they're still accepting donations. So there are still people that are believing in the message that he was spreading and what they are doing. What do you say to those members?
I would say it's over. The red flags that you guys have seen, you know, it's true. The thing about it is, any cult leader that's out there, a cult leader, you think about Jim Jones, some of them, you're always going to have 200, 300 people that's going to keep believing, you know. David prayed on a lot of people that, mental illness, people that maybe, I'm not trying to be mean, but just that had weak people. I remember one time I went to his house with my 2 boys. We spent a couple days there in St. Louis, and I looked in the bathroom and some of his books, he had some of Jim Jones books. I didn't think nothing of it at the time, but now I look back on it, you know, and I thank God that he didn't offer Kool-Aid, because at that time I probably would have drank the Kool-Aid. I'm just saying, your mind gets so, this guy was just trying to convince you, and he did convince so many people that he is best friends with Jesus. It's not even biblical. How can, you know, and
He healed a whole church or a whole hospital. Was that in your book about how he drove by a hospital and prayed, and then all of a sudden maybe it was healed?
So this is what this guy does. He thinks anything he says, everybody's gonna believe it. Like, he can just say whatever he wants, you know. So he had all these crutches and wheelchairs on the platform, and so I'm surprised I stayed around 16 months, because I was questioning things like that, because I would be at his meetings. I said, you have all these wheelchairs and up on the platform. I've not seen anybody walk out of them. He goes, Vicki, it builds faith. We just do it because it builds faith. Only miracle I saw was, and I don't know if it was set up, was he had this guy come up there and he got his taste buds back or something. It was just something just so like, try this mint, try that. I was like, okay. And I'm on the front row trying to be, I was like, this is corny. But, you know, I don't know, I just, at the point that I decided it's over was when a lady, I'm not gonna mention her name, she reached out to me and she says, Vicki, this is what she's a big part of it. And if you're watching, you know who you are. She says, Vicki, I know you're a part of this ministry because I know I see you come and sing, but I need you to help me. I'm in a relationship with David Taylor. And I played dumb, like, oh, really? You know, she says, yeah, she sent me a picture of her and him. Mm-hmm. Of course, I call his phone, he don't answer. I call Michelle, they don't answer. I send them the picture. They say she photoshopped it. She's lying. Well, you know, you gotta watch when David's in this level of, you know, with Jesus, people's gonna, you know, wanna make up stuff about him and relationship and things. And then somebody else, he sent me a text, David did, and he had another lady's name that works there it's a part of the ministry, and it had her name on there. I couldn't find it. So then I knew. So the day I exposed him, the day he started telling everybody that, you know, I lied, I got in the mail, it was for Christmas, he mailed me $900 Louis Vuitton shoes. And it said, love you and everything. And he's telling, I couldn't help but post on social media because this guy is telling everybody we were never in a relationship. And then when I posted the pictures of him and I together, you see him, yeah. He said, she photoshopped him. I got more people saying, Vicki, you can go into business because, honey, those were really, really, really good, you know.
How does it feel to see these charges and to share your voice?
I'm so overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I told myself, don't cry, talk slow, don't cry. But I honestly kept believing. There's a song that says, keep believing in what you know is true. Keep believing. You know the Lord will see you through. When troubles rise in your life and you don't know what to do, keep believing. And that's all I've done. I kept believing. I kept them out of my mind. One thing I've learned through all of this is to keep my eyes on Jesus. And there's a song I wrote that says, I'm at peace, even though my heart is breaking. I'm at peace. And that's where I'm at. I'm at peace.
And Vicki does expect to testify at some point in this case, she says. If Taylor and Brannon are found guilty of the charges, they could face up to 60 years in prison. Now, we did reach out to the Kingdom of God Global Church's headquarters in Michigan. They told us they are still operating as usual and still taking donations. Jennifer Titus, 10 Investigates.